Hey, yo, welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I am your host, Soma79. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I have some special guests. I got Tali Rodriguez and the OGBenGrimm. They have a new album out called The Seoul Assassin. It is absolutely amazingly dope. It's the production value is amazing. Ben Grimm comes super hard on the rhymes. I love this record. This was a pleasure catching up with him. I never met Tali before. He's extremely talented, smart dude, got lots of cool stuff to say. And Ben Grimm, I've known for a long time. He's brother of a couple time guest here, Aztec Yee. And so, yeah, I mean, anyone who's related to Aztec is family to me, definitely. Those two are amazing. Three are amazing. Throw in Tali with them, and I'm absolutely loving the record. Go check it out. It's called The Soul Assassin. I don't think I'd actually connected with Ben Grimm like face to face since like the MySpace days. So that's what I love about doing this stuff, connecting with people from back in the day. May try to do some music with these guys at some point too. So check out the album, The Soul Assassin. I think I might have called the album Grimbo Slice at some point, which is the name of the first track. So sorry about that if I did that, but it is The Soul Assassin, as in Seoul, Korea Assassin. Check it out on Bandcamp. Love it. All right. Check out the episode. Peace. All right. Hey, welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I believe it's episode 76. How did we get that far? My guests today are the OGBenGrimm and Tali Rodriguez. What's going on? Is that Tali? I should have asked it before. Is that how you say it?
That's me, yeah. Or if you're from Boston, it's Tally.
Tali. That's what I was so tempted to say, but I didn't want to say it. I was like, damn it. What do you got? You guys, we were just talking before about your newest album, Grimbo Slice, which I have been playing on repeat the past couple days. Amazing beats, ridiculous rhymes. I think I caught a Tommy Dreamer mention in there, which I was very excited about. So what's going on? How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, living, man. Just got off work, jumped down here to do this with you.
Excellent.
Way back.
Yes. And actually, for those who don't know, you're is it cousin? You and Aztec are cousins?
My little brother.
Oh, brother. That's what it is. Yeah, brother. Yeah. Good Lord. Yeah. And Aztec's been on a couple times, and he is essentially Boston hip hop royalty as far as I'm concerned. So as far as a lot of people are concerned. So it's all family, man. So you're out in California now, though. You've been there for a while?
Shit, 20 plus years now.
Yeah, shit. And you're down in Georgia, Tali?
I am in Georgia.
So how did you guys kind of hook up to make some music?
Shit, we've been friends since 2001.
Probably.
2001, 2002. We've been
I think it was like on like back then it was like the hip hop message boards or just like I don't know, mp3.com or Rap Station or some of those old places, Hound Click, where you would put things. And we found them. We found each other on one of those. I'm not sure if it was through Judge or if I met Judge through you or what the order of that all is, but
because back then I was living in Korea, so it had to have been on. Yeah, it was online because I was overseas, and I knew you first, and then you just ended up meeting. I don't know how you met Judge, and then it just
same
happened.
way.
We were both like, "Oh, damn!" We both know he knows Judge, I know Judge, and we just got cool like that from there.
Yeah, I've told him before. That's the reason I know these people is because I met Judge through I met Skippy, if you remember him, Raw One. He was part of Uncomfortable Skin. I met him at like a rave, and he was like, "Yeah, to meet my friend Judge," and that's how I met all like the Vengeful Mind dudes and all you guys.
Damn, Vengeful Minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was a part of Project Mayhem, that what Vengeful Minds like turned into once. I think there was the hectic divide. I think caused the ends of Vengeful Minds many years ago. But
Project Mayhem, Controlled Demolition, right?
yeah. Me and Hush was ones who put that mixtape together. Which I went back and listened to that. Some of that stuff, it's a little unevenly mixed. I'm like, oof, 2005 me.
Yeah, that was 19 years ago. It was we were all starting, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
you live and you learn.
And so many people, I'm so happy that so many people have stuck with it. And the few that haven't, like Mooney, Desolate, he's doing such other cool stuff in other directions. But like, were there any times you thought about giving up? I stopped rapping for a few years, probably close to 5 or 10 years. I thought I'd never be good enough. And then I came back and I was like, I gotta really I can do this.
I mean,
Did you ever
there were
stop?
times there were times where I was like, is it worth doing? I'm getting older, you know. And of course, my brother would bring me back in. He'd be like, jump on this song, or another, or P-Row would call me, or Crack would call me, jump on something. And then, of course, I got sick, and I didn't think I was gonna rap ever. I didn't think I was gonna be able to speak. So, you know, God says you got a gift, use it. So I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah. How are you feeling now?
About 85% of what I was probably, but better than 0%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it's a lot. That's 85% to be grateful for and 15% to be hopeful for, man. It's
Facts.
glad to hear. Um, so what are your I usually like to ask what are your earliest memories of music in general? Or like do you remember what the first tapes or CDs you bought with your own money are? Like any early memories like that? For me, it's with a lot of people from my demographic, it's Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Eazy-E, and Beastie Boys License to Ill, with a little bit of Thriller mixed in. But how about for you guys?
Tali, go ahead first.
So all right, I grew up mostly with my mom and my grandparents. My grandparents never listened to music. They had like polka, like just stuff, like just mass, like mounds of it, but they never listened to it out loud. It was the strangest thing.
For my grandparents, it was Pavarotti cassettes, and it was the same
So
way.
my mom, well, hippie, all this anything 60s rock type of stuff, 70s sort of stuff. And then by the time I came around, we were listening to like whatever was popular on the radio in the 80s. So a lot of like new wave English, like Tears for Fears, like wild shit.
Yeah.
The first time I heard hip hop or was even like involved with it at all like that would have been like I went to visit my cousin once when I was like 8, and I was showing him this Guns N' Roses song. I was like, dude, they swear like twice on this album. It's amazing. And then he's like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And he's like 3 or 4 years older. And he put in, I think it was NWA Straight Outta Compton, like the album, and just started playing it. And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. But then I was like, what is this? I need to get into this. And so the first 3 CDs, my mom gave me money to buy some, and I went and I got Digital Underground, Sex Packets,
I'm a
Salt and Pepper, Black Magic, and NWA and the Posse. Those were the first three things I bought.
I'm world's biggest Digital Underground fan. I'm actually this weekend doing another song with Young Hump from Digital Underground. Like I actually performed the Humpty Dance in my last couple sets.
Nice.
Yeah,
Love Digital Underground. Good choices. Good
yeah,
choices. Those all hold up.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just sort of got like I didn't, I don't know. That's where it started. It was very mainstream. I didn't have a whole lot of access to actually like anybody around me. Most of the people I was living around were still listening to like the Doors or something. So
Yeah.
or
It is funny
Nirvana.
though, like those three are acts you mentioned are so far away from each other
I
in
know.
terms of like they're all hip hop and they're all classic hip hop, but it's like if they're all like they have nothing to do with each other. So you almost get like the full spectrum of hip hop in those three.
I grew up around Cleveland, so like we didn't really have like allegiance, like Cleveland pre-Bone. Right?
Yeah.
So it was like rock and roll and like anything we could pick from any number of places, and we wouldn't necessarily be made to feel bad about it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. We just had in Boston anybody that had any talent went to New York and it was like, all right, well. So we're left with Marky Mark. What about you, Grim?
Um, I mean, same thing. When I growing up, listening to where my parents listened to, and then I remember one day my dad just dropped this bag of tapes in my room. And he said, "This he was here. One of my workers left this when he quit. See if you like anything." And the three I ended up keeping were Houdini, the Fat Boys, and Bob Marley.
Choices.
And I just that just I gravitated to those three. And then when I actually got old enough where I was making my own money, like little odd jobs. The first 3 albums I actually bought myself were Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, New Edition, Any Heartbreak, and Shabba Ranks. Those are the first three I actually bought. That's it, but everything else was reggae and hip hop. That's
We're all obviously right around the same age. These are all the same, like because Guns N' Roses. I didn't. My brother had all that. I didn't have them, but like it was all over the place. And these were all the same tapes I saw when I was at the tape store. You know, back in the days of going to Sam Goody when the hip hop section was like this. It was like two or three rows, and I remember sweating whether they'd sell me a parental advisory one or not because they cock blocked me a few times.
that's where you try to steal them, and they had the long plastic
Yeah.
case. So you try to get out the store with the long case because you can't cut it while you're in the store.
I was explaining to somebody today what a CD long box was. Long box, remember those when you buy a CD and they came in the cardboard? And you're like, why'd they do that? It's because two of them were the same size as like a record thing and they fit in the same bins. Like, genius.
Trying to keep
That
people
is
from
smart.
shoplifting them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But if you want them, you'll find a way to get out of the store with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was never a shoplifting kid. I never had the faith in myself to be able to like, what I did was I would run those scams on like BMG and Columbia House, where I'd be signing up myself for multiple accounts and getting all the free ones. Like that was my way of doing it. Where I was just like pennies on the dollar. It's like now I still have a big pile of like Better Than Ezra CDs in my other room, so the joke's probably on me. But
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, I was a master thief by like 12, so
Really?
I think I definitely grew out of it, but or maybe I just put it into better pursuits like
Yeah.
beats. But yeah, that was like need a wrestling ring for your Hasbro toy wrestlers. I got you.
I
I'll
kind of
figure
could
out a
use
way.
one of those right now for my honky tonk man right here.
That's what he said. The
Yeah.
oh, man,
I
My
think I had
man.
that. I did have that. I definitely had that.
the
I don't think I
greatest
paid for it though.
champ of all time.
Of course, greatest IC champ of all time. Respect the man.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah.
We used to
Honky
kill KB Toy Store.
Oh God, KB seemed like the place to shoplift from. They seemed like they didn't really give a fuck
There's
there.
like one person working there,
Yeah,
20 kids running around all over the place.
yeah.
Or go in there on a mission with like 5 friends. You'll be good.
The good old days.
Oh man. So what about what for me, even though I discovered rap at a young age, it to me never really understood how you made it. Like it seems so crisp and so I just didn't have a perception of that. So it took me a long time to really start like breaking down how to make it and doing it myself. But I didn't come from a culture and I talked about it. What actually inspired you guys to actually start taking a part in the process of making hip hop and going from a fan to an artist?
Shoot. I think growing up on military bases, I was always around older people, soldiers. I was always hanging out. Even as a kid, I was hanging out with soldiers, shooting ball, whatever. And, they would be out, freestyling, whatever. And I was like, dude, I just want to be down, you know what I'm saying? At that age, you know what I'm saying? So I started trying to little rap with them. And the more I started falling in love with the culture, I'm like, yo, I need to be in this somehow, So I just started working at it, and then eventually technology got to the point where you could do it at home. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that opened a whole different door.
What a big difference that was. Yeah.
Shout out to Peter Quisgard and co-editor.
Oh yeah. That guy. The guy had so many licenses.
Dude, so many.
Did you guys ever try recording on 4 tracks?
Not hip hop.
No.
I think once.
Yeah, I still have my 4 track over here. It is a tough instrument to really get your mind around. Or just
I used to use it to make like to do funny things with beats and stuff, but I never tried to actually record on it.
Yeah,
It just seemed like intimidating.
Yeah, it is. The tape is a pain in the ass, but to your point, like I remember I got one of the first M boxes, the first like Pro Tools like home versions, and I was like, holy shit. Like it changed everything,
Was that the little gray box that stood straight up like that with the knob?
It had like baby blue in it or something, right?
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, I had that one
Yes,
too.
I still
sir.
have the undergroundhiphop.com sticker on it. I have this computer
We all
back
have
here.
that.
Yeah, I have this computer back here that now I only use to play this awesome bass program I have that I can't get to work on any other computer or any other anything. So it's just it's just this computer is now my bass synth. So, to nobody's feel it,
Yep.
it's not worth it.
And you can't use it without a thing that doesn't work anymore anyway, like
I
some
know.
iLock thing that's all been broken for like 20 years probably.
I shockingly, knock on wood, have had the same eye lock since then. I've had it for over 20 years and it's never broken. It continued to keep working. So and I record everything on Pro Tools, an Mbox 2 that I hasn't died yet on a computer from 2008. So, but then again, I have like Pillsy mix and fix everything, but I at least capture it. The old
Pills.
mix and fix.
Shout out to Pillsy. Damn, I haven't heard that name in a minute.
Oh yeah, he does most of my production now, my mixing. He's really making a ton of good beats now.
That's what's up. I think he was going to when I came back home, was it a year ago, year and a half ago? And um he was going to come through, but something happened. He was going to come by Matthias's spot, but something came up and he couldn't come through. But
Yeah, that sounds like Pillsy.
yeah,
Him saying he's gonna be somewhere and him being somewhere are often different things. He's supposed to come out here in a couple weeks to finish up our newest album called You're Scaring the Ducks. I'm working on the album cover for it today, so cheap plug for that. But featuring Elza and Percy P and Young Hump and and Rex, a bunch of other people. Well, I actually you didn't get a chance to answer that question. How did you go getting to start making music?
Um, we were always like, again, not my mom's side of the family, but my dad's side of the family. I got to see them like a couple times a year. They're all Puerto Rican and have a different sort of approach to music than my sort of European other side. And they were just constantly playing shit. Like every night there was like people on bongos, guitars, like whatever they had laying around, fucking pots, wood blocks, like whatever we had. And it would just be like an hour or two jam session, like I was like at least 2 or 3 times a week. And so I did be 20 people in a living room just like playing this crazy music. And I'm like 8, so I'm not playing anything, but I'm just hearing it. And I'm like, it always made me feel good. I always liked it. But I also never had the patience to actually sit down and learn how to do anything. So like I took drum lessons, quit that shit. I took probably took guitar lessons. I took some piano stuff. So like I kind of have a general sense of the very beginning of the theory of any of it. And then after that, I'd get bored. I'm like, I can't play good enough. I don't want to keep doing this. Like I'll try to be good at this instead. I'll try to be good at this instead. And I would just bounce from thing to thing. And then like, I don't know, probably 16, 17, 18, some of my friends, I'd moved down to Georgia. That's when I moved to Atlanta. And some of my friends in English class were like just sitting there writing rhymes and passing the shits back and forth to each other in English class. And I'm like, let me see that or whatever. Right. And like, so I scribble my little thing in there and then pass it on and it would just go around and I'd be reading. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I was always into hip hop anyway. I was always listening to it. I just wasn't like participating. Uh, and then they like one of them just kept telling me, he's like, dude, you're actually pretty good at writing. You ever actually try to do it? And I'm like, hell no, because I was very shy. I wasn't like trying to like,
Yeah.
didn't want to be out doing it out loud. Even when I would write something, like I would never perform it in front of them. I was just like too meek, right? And then around 18, 19, 20, all of a sudden, it's pretty much the same exact thing. It became a lot easier to practice. It became a lot easier to like see what it would sound like if I did something, right? Instead of just kind of imagining what it would be like. And so I could actually see like tangible, concrete stuff. I didn't have to work as hard at it either. It
That's
kind
a
of
funny
some
point.
part of the rhythm came naturally. I don't know. And
Before
that can
that
really,
point, you really had to trust the first time you did something, you were really relying on someone else's reaction. Because I mean, I never had it. I had like a camcorder that barely worked when I was a kid with tapes that didn't fit in the VCR. And it's like until like I had an iPhone, like or like a decent digital camera. But that was a huge step forward, just the ability to record yourself privately and you know have something better than the mirror.
yeah. And the funny thing, like the very first, I mean, everybody hates the way they sound when they first
Yeah.
like hear it and they don't understand it, but like just even the repetition of hearing how you sound and remembering how you recorded something and like seeing how it translates to this other medium or whatever just started gaining confidence little by little and then just keep on doing it and every once in a while like a really good verse would come out or something like that and I'd be like it was just momentum and then it would start to sound better because I'd get I started off with a Best Buy mic that looked something like this that you would just stick on your
Yeah.
desktop and just play and and then eventually onto the shittiest condenser mic ever, and then eventually to the slightly better one, and now we got an interface, and you just start building it up and building it up. And the more you do it, the more confident you get, and that's basically what it was. Like once I found out, or once I realized or thought that I was pretty good at it, and enough other people were like forcing me to understand that it stopped being stupid, then I was pretty much hooked.
It's funny because once you reach that point, then you almost forget that it's hard. Because then I reached a point where I'm like, this is easy, anybody can do this. And like I forget even how hard I found it before. Because it's like you work it, it's such a nice gift to feel that way because it means you've really put your hours in, you know?
Like certain parts are hard and other parts aren't. Like some people are, for me, it was always the delivery. It was always like I could flow was perfect. I could do whatever I wanted. I could write good, but like I had no confidence. So like
Yeah.
I would write this crazy, amazing verse and spit it like it perfectly, and it would have no heart. It just like zero heart, no soul to it. Right. And that's something the only way I can explain is to just that has to develop over time, or you have it. You just have it right off the bat, and that's not your problem, and you just can't flow good, or your voice sucks, or whatever, or you just don't believe what you're saying. And then once you can combine all of those things, there's like no stopping you at that point.
I heard
And
someone say recently that there's people that can rap good that aren't good rappers. And I
Yeah,
think there's a lot of truth to that. Like, because
I think
there's a
that was
skill
me
to do it.
when I
Yeah.
first started.
Yeah. It's like, it was one of the reasons I quit for so long, is I remember sitting in traffic and hearing this Percy P song and being like, oh, I'll never, ever, 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 ever be on this guy's level. And I'm actually working on a song with him right now. And I was like, that one's got to get checked off the list because that's going to make me feel whatever. But I quit for like 10 years because I was just like, I'm a fraud. Like, it's just like, why am I going to waste my own time? But
It's like Piro, or not Piro, although Piro too, but Judge was that to me.
oh, he was that to me too.
Then like I was like, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
I can kind of write with them sometimes a little bit. Like I can't possibly ever pull that conviction off.
Yeah. I have an
Right?
unreleased album with Judge called Rome Wasn't Burnt in a Day from like 20 years ago. And I keep, every time I talk to him, I try to convince him to put it out. He won't because it's too old. I'm like, dude, this stuff is still better than anything anybody else has out there. Like your stuff, I'm like, I'll fix mine, but your stuff is still better than everybody else's new shit, you know?
Yeah,
And
Judge is on a different wavelength.
oh, he is.
He's one of the most, I think, one of the most talented writers I know.
Yeah, him and Donnie, they had the joint album. Him and I'm oblivious for people who don't know. They put out a joint album, I think last year. Oh man, was that good? I enjoyed that so much. Like, ah, dude, that dude's on another level too. Oblivious.
And
Never
Donnie,
lacking confidence.
No, no.
yeah, I think he was one of the first people my brother introduced me to. I think was Donnie.
Yeah.
It was actually the first two people I met. Actually, no, the first three people I met Angelo first.
Oh, Relentless?
Relentless.
Yeah.
Met Relentless first. Then I met Jake the Snake.
Oh God, JDS. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Because it was the night of the copyright show. And we're on the way to the show and we stopped at some record store. I forgot there was a record store right by there. I can't remember the name of the spot. It was big though. And Jake was in there and he introduced me. And then we were walking up to the venue and I hear Donnie, when did tech get so big? It's me. He's like, oh shit. And then he introduced himself. It was him and Hectic were standing outside and they introduced each other. And yeah, Donnie's always been like that.
Yeah.
Donnie's always been like the day one.
Yeah, he's been one of ones the day I met him.
Yeah. And once he shows you love and he, he's down and out for you every day.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure.
Shout out Donnie.
Shout out Donnie, man. Hope he's doing better. Hope he's doing well and recovering. God, those copyright shows back in the day. I was actually just listening. I did the cover for Copyright's new album. I think it's just out on streaming now. And were you there for some of those shows back in the day?
Dude, I beat somebody up at one of those shows.
Oh. The statute of limitations up on that?
Oh yeah. That's what I got known for back then.
I think I'm remembering this now, yes.
People talked about that every time I come home. You remember when you? I'm like, yes, I remember. I would remember.
All right, I'm not going to ask you to recount that entire story.
Even copyright came up to me after it happened, and because he's like, dude, that was crazy, and then he went to his set. That was it was wild. That was a dude. Every time I come home, it's wild.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
Coffee's currently locked up, unfortunately, but hopefully
Okay.
he'll be getting out sometime soon. But
Man,
I had him on a few months ago, and I had to edit a lot out of that interview. That one, there was a lot that I hit the editing room floor to basically to protect him from getting locked
Mhm.
up. But
no, he's a talented cat. He's
he
just
is. He really is. Like he's just an absolute. And he had sent me the album before I'd finished it. I just listened to it a bunch, and I realized that he made a ton of changes to it, and it sounds even better. I think it's one of his best albums he's put out in a long time. So
I'm glad he's still out there doing it, man. He was cool that night. So I mean, I got no problem with him. He was cool that night.
yeah,
So
I think that might have been the night that he went to Hush's house. I remember there being a picture of him in Hush's kitchen from like back when
I think
Hush
that
was
was
like
I
still
think
in
that
high
was
school.
yeah, that's what Hush was. Damn, I don't even know how we got Hush in that show. He was only like 14.
Oh god, I remember there were shows when I was the oldest one on Project Mayhem. Him and Ronnie were the youngest. So like when everybody else would go party, I'm like too old to go party with these dudes, and they're like too young. So like we would take them home, and my girlfriend's like, "Well, how come you're 27 and carting around these 16-year-olds?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on in my life. But they're better rappers than me, so what the hell am I gonna do? You know?
Didn't say that.
Yeah. Well, back then they definitely were. I mean, like I on Hush at like 16, I was like, holy shit.
Hush was a prodigy at the
For
time.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so let's talk about this new album, Grimbo Slice. Like I said, I listened to this a bunch of times, and I'm always so blown away by just how sonically amazing like people can make their album sound now. Because that thing just I had it in my car and it was fucking banging. Like, what talk a little bit about what brought the album together, like any stories about it, anything you got?
Um, well, I mean, me and Tali always been talking about doing something, you know, like him producing me rapping. We've been years, right? And
Since
it just never
2008,
and
2010.
it, and it never happened because that was like I got the period where I wasn't really making music, except for like I said, I sporadically appear on some Boston album, like randomly. And then, I got sick and then just different things. And we finally sat down and said, you know what? I feel healthy enough where I can do this. You know what I mean? And I really and I had all these beats he's been sending me. He's been sending me beats forever that just I can't lie, I feel bad. Some of them sitting for years on my hard drive because I just wasn't in the right mindset to do it. And once we locked in and said, yo, we're gonna do this, it was quick. So, we got someone talented like this guy, got your back, anything's possible.
Yeah,
I mean,
sounds dope. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna ask you basically the same question. So
Oh, yeah. I don't know. The first time I remember actually making with a specific intent to make an album and sending Grimm stuff was like pretty much right around or right after There Will Be Blood came out. Right. And I don't know, remember what all it was, but I sent I don't know, 10 or something. And then another time, somewhere about 6 years later, and I was like in school and doing things like I wasn't really doing music either from like 2006 to 12. And then right around the same time, we kind of like reconnected again and started to make some shit and then kind of disappeared again for a while and then kind of came back and then all that stuff happened. But so it was like an on and off process, but it was never because of the music or anything like that. It was just always something. So timing wasn't right. Stars weren't aligning. Who knows? Uh, but yeah, then I just whatever 2020 or so started. I was done with school. I had a job. I was just I wasn't sidetracked with 20 other things anymore, and so I just started really getting into it. And at that point, I was like, all right, we got to do this. If we don't do this now, we're never gonna do this. So that was it. I mean, he's got beats from like 4 different generations of me making beats. Like the progression of from where it started to where it ended up. He's kind
it's
of got a little
funny.
bit of everything.
It's funny, I even mentioned Judge before about that album that I'd love to release that He'll Never Let Me. Like people have different relationships with their older work. Like, I mean, I have a song coming out next year where the first verse was me when I was 27, and the second verse was me when I was 42. And it's like to me, it's like that's part of the charm of it. And I'm all for anything that's come out of me before can be recycled and brought upon now. How do you guys feel about your older stuff? And do you think it has a place with in your music?
Uh, 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 Tali will tell you this. Most of my older stuff was insanely ignorant. The things I would say,
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, you remember some of the freestyles and shit. Like I would say some wild.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely some stuff that came out of my mouth freestyle that I'm
And
glad there wasn't a camera around for.
I mean, I still do street music. You know what I'm saying? That's who I am. That's
Yeah,
my foundation. That's what I live. I mean, I'm outside. You know, so I'll still rap about that stuff. But at the same time, you're right. Like I'm older now. I know there's certain places I shouldn't go.
yeah,
When you're young and you're rapping, you'll say whatever. If you think it's fly, you'll say, like, I don't give a damn who gets mad at what I say. That Chino XL mentality. I don't give a damn. I'll just say it because it's fly.
yeah,
Then you get older, you're like, man, somebody might, my kid or something might hear
yeah.
this. Or
It becomes one of those things where it's like your text messages never sound good read back to you in court, where you're just like,
ah,
oh, it's like, oh, you take the beat away, and that sounds really bad when someone reads it says it back to you.
I got songs out and I took off the internet that I ain't never gonna let come back out. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff I said.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
I got one that I want to reuse, and I'm flipping up a few of the old lyrics, and I'm like, I don't want to throw the whole thing up, but some of these lyrics do not represent the current version of me.
see, but at
Yeah.
the same time, you gotta think the stuff you wrote when you were younger is the raw version of you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's always gonna be jewels in it. You know what I'm saying? You just
That's
gotta
true. Yeah.
clean it up. And like now that you're old enough, you could take those same ideas and just tweak them. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like the same, like you might have wrote a punch that was just fire because you had so much juice at the time. You know what I mean? So I mean, but now you know how to say it right, how to transition it into the next bar that you did might not have been able to do back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It was like beginner's luck that you wrote it before your time, and it's still there to go back and like mine.
facts.
Yeah. It's very true.
Uh,
It was funny too, like that is the thing about involving with music is there is a degree of, one step backwards or two step forwards. And there's always be those days where you write something, you're like, oh, wait a minute. The rapper that I was last week couldn't have written this bar. And it's like there's that's a great feeling where you actually can see yourself getting better. And it doesn't it only comes with sticking at it. It's there's no one's born, very few people are born great rappers.
I
Like
don't. I'm perfect. I hate. I'm like to me the relationship with old music is like cringy. I don't. I hear everything differently now than I heard it then, and yet if you catch me just tipsy enough or just like with my guard down a little bit and I hear it, just somehow it pops up. I don't know, like on my playlist or something. I'm like, dude, you were pretty good. Like that was not bad, So I'll
Yeah.
actually be like, damn, that's good. That dude's talented. I almost see it like outer body at this point
Yeah.
with that like really old stuff that's actually recorded and actually kind of still floats around that in places I don't like to tell people because I don't have any control over it. But like as far as writing, like I've so there's like a little so far 4-part series of solo albums I've done since like 2021 or something. And the first 3 of them, every single song was something I probably wrote 15 years before I actually recorded it. And some of them were re-recorded from things I recorded back then, but I never put out because I didn't think they sounded any good, right? So like I have no problem going back and if it's good, like taking it and doing something with it. I keep every beat I've pretty much ever made and I will go back to them 5 times a year just to see if I can remember or capture something in what I thought I heard in that thing originally. Largely because I probably have like experience now that I didn't have then. I have know-how now, like, oh, I can actually do the thing I wanted to do to that thing back then that I couldn't do then because I didn't know how. Now I know how to do it. Let me go back and revisit it and see if I can make something out of it. So I go back all the time and find old beats that I started on, didn't finish. I don't find a lot of old writtens anymore because I kind of used them all in those 3 projects. And so everything is pretty much fresh from here. But I don't go. I will show people the old stuff when I want them to see where I came from. Especially if they're sharing stuff like insecurity with me, for example, right? You know, or
Yeah.
they're kind of like talking about it and they're having the conversation. I'm like, well, let me just show you. You think I'm good? I'd like to show you what I sounded like when, you know,
Yeah.
I just when I first started, or even a couple years in, just to, and it's kind of humbling. It reminds you, it's like, oh shit, in both ways. Like, you haven't always been to shit, and then also secondarily, you've gotten really good, right? Like, and you're just way more confident with it. So I like that it's around. I still have it all. It's all on my various hard drives and places all over the place. But I mean, I'm not like blaring it out there. I don't want everybody to be going and trying to find a battle from like 2001, where again I say some like really regrettable things about whatever it is, right? Like none of my
Were
shit
you?
was that bad, but
Yeah.
uh
I was gonna ask. Were you? I was gonna ask if you were in battles up here, but no, you're not
yeah,
from the
back
area.
then, like
Oh, were you in
2000 to
like the
2005.
Super Bowl battles or the TD3 battles or any of those? I used to do like the
No, I
TD3
wasn't
ones.
like going and like spitting in people's faces and shit. I was more like
Oh
there's
yeah,
a contest to
online.
make a song or something, or somebody would dish you and you'd do a diss track, like, whatever, like that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't doing like grind time, I wasn't like going
Yeah, I
and
used to
like
do some of the
entering the
battles
things.
before when they were all freestyle. Like, and in hindsight, I'm like, why did I have the balls to do that? Like, it was like, I'm just gonna get up there and say off the top of my head, I was like 22. I'm like, I guess we're doing this tonight. And sometimes it went well, and sometimes it didn't. But and sometimes I've realized Xanax is not a good drug to take for those, and it goes
No.
terribly. But lesson learned.
I remember being young, and just sitting in a circle of all these soldiers, most of them from the South, you know, and I'm a little ass Korean kid, and I'm saying some wild shit in these freestyle ciphers, and they're like looking at me like this little Asian motherfucker, like be saying some wild shit. And dude, I mean, looking back, I'm like, damn, I can't believe 14, 15, I'm in a room full of people that are trained to kill me, and I'm saying the wildest stuff to them, and I had the confidence to do that. But then again, I think that's what made me rap the way I rap now. You know what I'm saying? I have like zero fear.
Yeah, confidence is huge. I mean, that to me was the very last thing to come. And it's like if you have that in yourself, like that'll take you a long way.
Yeah, I mean,
Like that's number one. A lot of really confident sounding people can make stuff that's like fine, but it knocks and it's good. But if you could be saying it again, like you'd be like the most amazing person ever, and if you don't have any conviction behind it, nobody's gonna believe it. If nobody's gonna believe it, nobody really wants to hear it. And they just move on to the next person who they can believe in or they can trust in, when
Right.
they're listening to the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it takes there's all these little parts that have to come together to make a really good song where you have to sort of have this passionate idea and then so perfectly communicate what that passionate idea is without sort of losing it. And then like the mixing is so it's almost like it does become magical, but the magic only happened when you put enough time in like the lab, like learning the spells. Like it's like and when those moments come, it's like I remember in the documentary Scratch that I love, I've seen so many times. One of the executioners says, "All good things happen by accident," and it's so often that when you find that great sound when you're making the beat or say the thing the right way, you weren't trying to do that, but you put yourself in a position to make that accident and heard it and knew it when it happened and were able to capture it, and that's really what it's about. It's especially the type of music we make. There's no playbook really for what we do. It's not like you just sit down and learn how to play piano and then you just read sheet music. Like we're constantly inventing this stuff on the fly, you know.
yeah, pretty
It's
much.
yeah. So what are you using for equipment to make beats? I originally picked up one of those Machine Plus things and I got really into it for a week and then took about a month off and forgot everything. So now I'm gonna be learning that again this weekend. But
What's Machine Plus? I
it's
have Machine, but is it like a newer version or is it like a
I believe so. I was actually all up to get an MPC, and Matthias talked me out of it and suggested I get one of these. And I don't know, this is what it looks like.
that's a, yeah, like yeah. I mean that's
It's
pretty much what I use, except
yeah.
I
It's
got
got a
like the second generation. So mine's like probably 8 years old,
oh
nine
yeah,
years
yeah.
old.
This is what everything everyone is. Yeah, it's I mean I went from this was my previous sampler. So I feel like we're really stepping in the right direction because I didn't have one in between. But where did you start? You eventually ended on something like this. Where did you start, and what was that journey like?
I actually listened to the Cloak and Dagger interview just to get
Oh,
a
word.
sort of grease the wheels, and pretty much the same story. It was like Fruity Loops. I had a friend who used to make beats on DOS. He had a
Jesus
DOS
Christ.
program that he could make beats on, and it was wild. And obviously, it's not a program for it, but he would program sounds into some weird thing he had, and it would come out and sounding like beats. And I'd be like, I know I can never do that. What's my next option if I want to do this? And he's like, just go to get Fruity Loops. And this would have been Fruity Loops 3, probably. This would have been like 2 or 3. And there might have even been a 2.5. I can't quite remember, but there's something right around 2000. And that's how I started doing it. I didn't have any kind of sense of like hardware, like even making stuff that way. I'd never really even been around people who did do it that way, because I hung around with a lot of people who either did make music or they were making, like, they were in bands or something, right? And so it's just different. Um, 2010, 2011 is when I just like, I want to try this other thing. I feel limited by just totally always just plugging stuff in and hoping it like sounds good. And so I got the like very first version of the machine. And of course, like I tried to learn how to use it, but I would just revert back to wanting to get back on the mouse and the keyboard, and like, because it's so much more natural to me. And they would always, Paul, like P-Ro would always laugh at me. He tried to show me how to use the MPC once, and it's just a complete, this makes no sense to me. I don't understand this at all. I'm just used to being able to put what I want where I want it and let it be like that. He's like, yeah, I know, but like it lacks a lot of this other stuff that you can do. So long story short, yeah, that pretty much all software based until about 2010, 2011. And then I started slowly learning how to use not the MPC, the machine, to like, that's probably about half and half now, where I make beats with, I'll use the machine for certain things, and then for other things, I still just go back to the old, like, I still want this to be this way, and I don't know how to do it on there, so I'm still gonna
And it
do it
might not
there.
even
But
be
it's a good
possible.
combination of both now.
Yeah.
And that's it. I haven't
There's always
evolved beyond
advantages.
that.
Yeah, there's always advantages in one way or another. Like, yeah. Speaking of P-Ro, he did the cover art for this, right?
That's all my cover art.
Yeah, man, that dude is so friggin' talented. I just picked up the vinyl for his is it Writing on the Wall? I'm always bad with the names of stuff, but the album is so dope. And his cover is amazing.
I just got my vinyl today.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, you have that on vinyl?
So you,
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
his artwork is just made for covers.
It really is. He does beautiful, beautiful work. It's almost unfair how talented that dude is at so many different things. Like,
You gotta think art wise, the lineage he comes from. You know what I'm saying? He learned from Brand learned from Brian. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Those are, dude. That you, there's no way you on that tree and you're not talented, like
yeah,
artistically.
yeah. Ryan
Also,
Life. I mean, I had him on. I think it was episode 50. That dude he's so just beyond, like, so talented.
he's the roots of that Boston tree. All them cats that we know
Yeah.
learned something from him and took it and created their own thing. But he's the roots of that tree. So yeah, shout out to Brian, man. I hope he sees this.
I had never met him. I knew who he was for years, but I knew his name. I didn't know. I never actually met him, and then one day he hit me up, and I'm like, "How do you know who I am? Like, I've known who you are forever." I was like so flattered. That he's so talented. He's just, and there's so many of those old Boston hip hop covers he did. It's just yeah,
Thanks, man. I think the Mr. Lift cover.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um, acrobatic. I think it's an acrobatic cover
didn't do
for
that.
Internet MCs. I think he did that one maybe. I don't know. Do you
I mean,
remember? You know, what I was thinking about the other day. Do you remember MC Exposition in Audible Mainframe?
yes,
I
yes,
had,
I
yeah,
do.
he passed away a long time ago from a cancer, I believe. But like, I was going through my old CDs and I found his stuff. I'm like, oh, I have to go back and listen to this. I bet it's not even on streaming because he's been gone for a while. But what a talented guy he was.
I met him my first trip out there too.
Mm.
So I'm like I said, I mean, when it comes to the Boston scene, I'm blessed. You know what I'm saying? My brother being who he is, introduced me to everybody. You know, so like I mean, all my roots are like, yeah, like, well, shit, all the way back, Vengeful Minds, the original Hybrid Thoughts, Project Mayhem, Starving Artists, Gutterheads. Like,
Yeah.
I've been there for every incarnation, you know what I mean? Like, not a member, but there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
So,
let's talk about Knuckle Draggers actually. Let's
um,
talk a
I'll
little
let
bit of
Tali speak more on that one.
What's
you
up
what?
with us? I don't know. No, what do you want?
Oh, just this for everybody who doesn't know what it is.
Oh
Knuckle
yeah,
Draggers.
I mean, yeah, it's the Knuckle Draggers, just a collection of people. A lot of the people we just talked about. So, and just always like to try to explain it all. There's like groups of people who are already in it. So I'll just like Ugly John, producer, Matthias, engineer, producer, Piro, everything, me, kind of mostly everything except the artwork. Crexislek and Matthias are Cloak and Dagger. Then Crexislek by himself. G Fan Black, Spitz, Grimm, and then they're all like you'll just sort of like affiliates
Yeah.
galore, but like uh I don't think I missed anybody. I think I got us all. But that's who it is. And so it's just a collective of people who are like friends outside of music that just decided somewhere around 2020 that we kind of could do, which between us all, we could do everything pretty much. And so we wouldn't have to really rely on worrying about other people to do stuff, which was pretty much universally all of our biggest fear of jumping back in this and doing this again, is that it's just going to be something that we were going to end up being more annoyed by than actually enjoying. And so we all kind of just promised we were going to give it a go and see how it went. But if it started getting shitty, we were just going to stop, and that was going to be it. We weren't going to try to go too crazy. And then we ended up doing like, I don't even know, probably 50 or 60 projects since 2020 that
Everything
we've had
was
our hands in somehow. We're not, like they aren't all ours necessarily, but
everything
probably
was a
more than that.
major pain in the ass back in the day. Like even just getting a high res file of something to print was like it felt like a major friggin' pain. And like getting a t-shirt made was a major pain. It was like
All of the details are so much easier now.
yeah.
It's just, but it's also easier for everybody. And so it kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's
uh,
the problem with hip hop, and that was one of the things that made it hard in like the late 2000s in the Boston scene. It's like, well, you'd be up there performing to a group of people who are about to perform. You can't sell a CD to somebody who's trying to sell a CD to you. And it was like the only person like making any money was the main act and the promoter. And you're like, well, this scene is sort of artificially propped up. And to some degree, a lot of cities are still like that, but it's
The scene out here is like that too. You do a show and the crowd is people waiting to go on after you or before you, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
but I mean, I think all underground hip hop scenes are like that. I
hmm,
mean,
yeah.
you have to reach a certain level of notoriety before shows actually start to become fans and more fans than peers. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But once you hit that level, it's lovely, man.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's too, it's like if you're not, you still have to be one of the best people at that level to be even a candidate for the next level. So there's still like, can look around and go, okay, well, we're all here, but I can still be the best one here, and that's your way to that. And so it's, without being a dick about it, which you still have some people at that level that still want to be a dick. Like that's still
yeah, I know.
that still blows my mind. I'm like, who are you? Like, who are you and your 11 monthly streams on Spotify? Like,
But,
why are you bothering me? But
but I've got some friends who say like, oh yeah, this is so and so. We went to the show and I was opening up for this person and that person, and they wouldn't even like let us over in the section they were at a bar that was like 20 people in it, and they wouldn't even say hello and was just basically cold shouldering them. And it's like I know who you are. Like I've seen yeah, like I've seen some things, I've seen some numbers, I've seen some stuff in the background that we don't talk about, and it's like there's no way you got any kind of right to be that damn entitled. But like
yeah,
that's a mind state. That has nothing to do with how good you are or bad you are. Like anybody who's good probably isn't feeling super entitled because they don't have to. It's usually people who are
right.
kind of like, I guess it goes both ways, but I find a lot of people who actually, usually like the people who are least qualified to have to feel entitled enough to be able to get away with treating people like shit that do it.
Right. Because
And the
those
people who are
people
actually
haven't
really
put
good
the
and
work
secure, they
in.
don't fuck with
They
people
don't
like that.
understand how hard it is. It's like, because even if you're good, you're still questioning yourself all the time. Like
I think so. if
Yeah,
you're human. I don't know.
right. Yeah, it's like, or you're at least you're questioning yourself all the time, and then you eventually get to the part where you're not as much, but you understand how much work went into
Or you're
it,
just
and you
trying to
do
get
it more.
better, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do it that way too. You don't have to be questioning yourself. You could also, you're still sharpening. You're
Yes.
still
Yes.
like getting it sharp.
I would tell people when I was performing down in Texas recently, like I was with my man Wordplay, the flyest MC from Alaska, and he gets like nervous all day. He's like, "Why?" He's like, "You don't get nervous." I'm like, "What I do is I forget to get nervous until the
Two
15 seconds I right get on both to a stage and go, oh shit, I'm really doing this. Oh fuck, I should have got nervous. Then I would have done better." And then all of a sudden the beat kicks in and I forget about it. But I get super nervous for like 10 seconds. Then it's just like, I get it all out of my system in that one little bit. But I don't know. As long as I remember the first line, it's all good. You guys remember first times on stage or like early times on stage? Was it encouraging, or did you feel like I need to be back up here, or
I didn't like it.
I don't remember my first time on
I
stage,
was too
actually.
shy and too. I'll tell you this real quick. So like I would do anything I possibly could to stay off of it. To like people, come on, go. No, no. I know, like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I'll forget my words. I'll whatever. I was in my own head. Once I started teaching in front of people, I'm like, I got to convince you that I know something you don't know and that you ought to listen to what I have to say. As soon as like I started feeling good doing that, all of a sudden like rapping didn't really seem that scary anymore. Right. But until I got better at my actual profession, which involves talking in front of people, like that's the only live set I've ever done is basically like 3 times a week. I got to go sit in front of 70 people and try to convince them that like this is worthy information and I'm the person that you should listen to get it. That forced me to overcome whatever mental hurdle I had. And so now, like, if the opportunity came up, I'm positive I could go and do it and it would be fun. But I spent most of my all the way through like probably 28 just being like, please don't ask me. Please don't ask me to get up. I want to get up. I don't want
that's
to,
so funny because I had the opposite experience where I started doing the freestyle battle because I felt like I wasn't doing a good enough job at work speaking up and I knew I wouldn't get ahead. And so I was like, I forced myself on stage just so I could do that. And then
so
it kind
interesting.
of ping pongs over the
Mhm.
years, but it's if you're willing to get up in front of a crowd of hip hop fans, like it's like they'll tell you when you suck. Like I've seen
Definitely,
it happen, and I believe it's
definitely.
happened to me. So like, there's no like, if you can get up and do that and go back and do it again, I respect anybody who, I mean, unless you're a total asshole. But like, it takes a certain amount of grit. People should practice too. That's the other thing. A lot of people don't practice.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it takes heart to stand up in front of a bunch of people you don't know and try to shine. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm kind of lucky in that way. Every time I rapped from day one in front of people, I felt like I put Korea on my back because you know nobody expects an Asian kid to rap back, especially when I was coming up. You know what I mean? And then I'm just naturally aggressive. So as soon as I stepped up, I felt like okay, they're gonna hear what I gotta say, whether they want to or not. You know what I mean? And then just so I mean, I'm naturally just like my wife calls me a socialite because I have no problem opening my mouth in front of anybody. I don't care. I'll say whatever needs to be said when it needs to be said. So I guess I'm lucky that way because music, I'm not scared to get on stage and start rapping anywhere. I could be at the goofiest function or in the most craziest hood, and I'll just get up and start rapping if they ask me to rap. You know what I mean? So, because I mean, what are they going to tell me? You know, they ain't going to tell me nothing I heard growing up.
Right. Right. Hey, you've had a chance to work with some hip hop luminaries yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done tracks. I did the track with Tragedy on the first album. I have a bunch of unreleased stuff with like Metal Man Ace.
Yeah.
Um, I did a song with Big Psych from the
Gangstar.
Outlaws. No,
Oh,
the Outlaws.
Outlaws. Yeah. Outlaws. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that song never came out just because of label shit, you
Ugh.
know. Yeah, there's like,
So when that happens, is it like too late? I mean, like, what would happen if that song just appeared on YouTube tomorrow? Like, and I'm
I
not
don't.
saying you should, but just out of
Oh
curiosity.
no, I couldn't do it anyway because all those songs are locked in a computer at Capitol Records,
Oh, yeah.
and I have no access to them because of bad. I'll say I had bad management at the time. When I first came out here, I had a guy managing me that supposedly had my best interest at heart, but that kind of soured me to music. You know what I'm saying? That's why I didn't do
Yeah.
like basically from shit. I came back to the US 2004. I didn't release There Will Be Blood till 2013. So that whole 9 year period was just like, making music and then it wouldn't come out or, it wouldn't get pushed. And I just got frustrated and stopped. And then, like I said, my brother and all you guys brought me back into it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I ain't got nothing but love for like Matthias, Crack, my brother, of course.
Yeah.
Shit, even Hectic, man. I remember coming out there and recording the first songs I ever recorded with my brother in his basement. You know what I'm saying? I met P-Row at Hectic's house. Um, so yeah, it's Boston actually brought saved me musically. I was done, dude. I was like, nah. I knew I was good, but I was just like, nah. Dude, making making songs and then knowing they're never going to come out just because somebody else controls your narrative
Yeah.
is frustrating.
And there's so many songs like that because it's like I remember hearing like guys like Apathy had similar stories. I'm sure he's got all these albums sitting somewhere, and like even like I was talking to the guy Paul Cantor who wrote the Mac Miller Most Dope book, and he said there's 600 unreleased Mac Miller songs. I'm like, well, where the fuck are they? He's like, well, some of them might be on hard drives and nobody has the password to. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And he's like, I got a bunch of them. I'm just like, come on. Where is this shit?
Find a way.
I know. It's like because even I fell down a rabbit hole of lost media videos on YouTube where it's basically they just talk about like basically videos that existed that no longer exist or there's no record of existing. You forget that still does happen. Like there's even every time like movies go from like beta to VHS to DVD to Laserdisc to whatever, there are some movies that don't make the jump because it's like they're not going to be enough people to buy them, and every time that happens there's some movies that get forgotten about, and like it's
Yeah, there's somebody with a video on their cell phone when I first came out here, and I'm in a cipher with Freestyle Fellowship.
really
Yeah, with all of them, Ab Rude, um, AC Alone, Micah. We're at Micah's house in Santa Monica. I was invited to a party there,
wow.
and everybody just started rapping, and my boy shoved me in the middle, and we just like I'm going back and forth, not dissing, but back and forth with Ab Rude, and it was just somebody has that on their phone because I know I saw lights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So somebody, but dude, it's like you wonder,
Right.
damn,
That
who had
phone's in a Walmart bin somewhere. Like
probably
it's like, hey, here, we'll take your phone, and there goes the fucking music,
Oh,
gone forever.
like I said, man,
it's
it's just. But everything happens for a reason. Like if I didn't go through what I went through as far as music and everything else, I wouldn't be here today with my boy. I wouldn't be, have my knuckle drag family. I wouldn't have all you guys that I've met over the years. Everything happens for a reason.
well, it's funny too because I meet so many. I have a lot of friends that aren't into hip hop, and I meet so many adults who are just like, I don't have any hobbies, and they're kind of coming to that realization that it's like, well, I've kind of got my life where I want it to go. Like, maybe I'm married, and it's like I got a kid, but it's like there's really nothing for me, and it's like it reminds me like how much enrichment I find just from doing stuff like this. That like it really does add so much to you. It gives you the confidence to be good at something, but B, it actually connects you with people that are like you, which I don't think people realize how important that is, especially as we get older.
And it's therapeutic, dude.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
And
Uh,
there's no idea how many demons I've eased by writing it out.
Yeah,
You know,
me too.
like,
I'd say
no,
about 95% of people I talk to on a daily basis that I would consider to be friends are from music over time, either
Yeah.
20 or 30 years ago, like even to now. It's like I got a handful of friends I still talk to from childhood, right? I got acquaintances in other places, but like most of the people that I actually care about, like that aren't family members, that aren't like people that you're married to, or dogs or cats or whatever. It's like these people are all just people we've met through music. That's the only reason I know you. It's the only reason I'm on here now. Is like this sort of unifying force of things everybody's kind of good at some part of it. Some people are assholes like Piro and he can do everything. But it brings us together. Sounds cliche and stupid, but like that is what it is. And I mean, if it was something else, we'd be doing that. It'd be a Jeep club or hiking or like, oh yeah, I'm really into knitting. I'm sure those people exist too, but I think there's something a little bit more communal about what we do. Not just we, but just me, I guess maybe musicians in general, where there's so much more collaborative in a lot of ways than like other forms of art that to me always seem very much individualistic and not really, I don't know, just not something that just screams out, hey, we want to work together on a painting. It's like just don't really get
I
that.
mean, in music, it's like every circle is its own culture within the culture. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know, like was it like a like be alike? You know what I'm saying? So you gravitate towards people that are like you or into what you are into. And then, like I said, I mean, friendships develop. Like I said, me and Tali been friends for fucking 20 years. Me and P been friends for 15 years, crack, like 10, 12, 15 years. You know, it's I I probably talk to those four people more than anyone else in my, outside of my, of course, my wife and coworkers and stuff. But I talk to them every day.
Yeah. I've become that with like Pillsy. It's like him and I didn't talk for like 10 years. We were in like Monarchy together, me, him, and Narcotics and Wise One, and then just stopped. We didn't talk for like 10 years, and then we started making music together, and now it's like literally every day. It's just
Damn, I
like
haven't heard
nothing happened. Like literally like just like no time went away, you know?
I haven't heard that in a long time. Mike Monarchy. I haven't
Yeah,
heard that
that was us.
in
You
a
know what's
long.
funny? The other day I was playing, I picked up a 7L Esoteric record when I was in Texas, and I was playing it the other day. And there's a song on Be Alert, their first song with Richard Oyster. He says Mike Monarchy. And I was like, holy shit. Like I never really caught that before. And I sent to the Pills, this is where you got it from? He's like, no, but like we should have sampled it.
Damn,
Yeah,
fucking memories, man.
yeah, the good old days. But
That's another thing. Music will give you memories that last forever, dude.
yeah.
Because like memories tie into songs. Like you can remember what song was playing when something happened.
Yep.
So it's
100%.
like, or you hear a song and you remember what you were doing when you heard that song last time.
You know what
It,
happens to me is like I had all these mixtapes as a kid, and so like, I've listened to them so many times that like when so I always remembered what song comes next, and I expect that. If I hear one of those songs now, my brain will trigger
You
to
already
think,
know what's coming next.
yeah, and it's been like 20 years or 30 years, and it still happens. It's crazy.
Does it ever actually happen? And you're like, yeah, like,
No, no, that would be.
mm.
But I did that once to my girlfriend because I made her a mixtape, and I was like, I want to see what happen to her, and I paused the song. I'm like, what song are you thinking of right now? And she spits it out. I'm like, why? And she's like, I have no idea. And I explained. I felt it was like this worked perfectly. I felt so happy. Felt like a magician. But that's the
I,
thing too. So much of this is an illusion. I feel like we're just really taking like stuff and like putting it together, and it feels like a magic trick. I love that.
I mean, I remember I used to in school. I used to when like I used to cram study for test. I used to never study, but like the night before I would,
Same way.
and I would play like whatever album while I'm reading, and I would intentionally take that tape or whatever with me to school the next day. And before the test, I would put the headphones on. As soon as the song came on, it was like memorizing lyrics to a song. You hear the
Yeah.
music and you remember what you like. I would memorize. I don't know. It's like as soon as the song played, it triggered what I read, and just
I always wanted to do that. I had that idea and never bother to execute it. But I remember thinking like if I can remember 60 bars of a verse just off the top of my head, why don't I just put this on a song and just remember the song? And I'll just like this beat will be playing in my head. Never did it. I don't
bro,
know. It's a
it's
great
like
idea, and I'm glad somebody actually executed it because it's always been I haven't even thought about that in 20 years, but
it's like you don't think like songs that you love, you don't even remember the words, but let the music start playing, and you all of a sudden you're singing or rapping with the song, and you haven't thought of that song in 20 years. And all of a sudden you just know every freaking word. It's like that memory trigger. That music is that memory trigger.
That happened to me with Jump Around that came out earlier today. I'm like, do I really know every single word to Jump Around? I guess I do.
I think so.
Like, I don't know when
Probably.
that happened, but it happened. Then
That's
it's
so
the opposite way. When I was learning the Humpty Dance, I'm like, I heard the song 9 million songs. How do I not? How do I still have to stop and go, wait a minute, what does he say there? You know?
the irony of Jump Around, a song that everybody associates with Boston, and none of them cats are from Boston.
I know, I know. It is. It's the
Remember
sweet.
that?
It's basically like right behind "Sweet Caroline." It's like the most Boston non-Boston song.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you down at the Hop on like a Saturday night, they're gonna play "Jump Around." Everyone's gonna go fucking nuts. Oh God.
I
That's
mean,
funny, like when I think back to those times, like the times I felt I was in the most danger when I was used to go out there around those times was like when I was down in like Boston, like around like the Harp and places like that, where people would just get drunk and fucking stupid. Where it's like at least if I was at like a hip hop show, I kind of like everybody, I kind of knew the vibe and I knew whatever, but down there was just the random drunken assholes, and I'm like, this is where I feel truly unsafe. But
dude, it's crazy how many spots that used to have shows are just gone now in
I
Boston.
know. Western Front, we used to play there all the time. That's
Western
been gone for a
Front,
while.
Hoffa's, McCann's.
Even the good, I think the Good Life is gone now.
Good Life just closed not too long ago. I
Yeah,
think last year it closed.
love that place. That was my favorite
And,
spot in Boston.
and even the Middle East ain't the same from what everybody tells me. It's not the same as it used to be, you
I
know.
haven't
So
been in there in years. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I
Leeds
saw
doesn't even do that many shows anymore, and I'm sure if there was money in it, he'd be doing them. I'm guessing it's just the
like
hard
I
times
saw the
and
Middle East because my brother's and his wife's store is right across the street.
yeah, Lola's in Cambridge and Boston. Definitely go check that out.
So I remember walking by it last time I was there. I was like, damn, fucking Middle East. I haven't seen that place in forever. And my brother's like, it's not the same, man. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like underground has a place and it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know.
You know what
Like
it almost needs is like cities need like that one like store almost where like because remember even when we had the underground hip hop store in Boston, it was small, but it was also a
that's the
community.
place where I
Yeah.
met Jake.
Oh,
That's
okay,
the
yeah, it makes sense.
thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Like a lot of people get like and they bring in like Immortal Technique, they bring in different rappers, and it's like when you have a place like that, it kind of ties the scene together more. And like that's what these different cities need is that place where hip hop isn't just happening on a Tuesday night or a Friday night. You can hip hop is always happening in this one place. Like it sounds kind of corny, but I think it makes a big difference, and I think it made a difference back then when that store existed. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think of if every city had its own like hub, like
Yeah.
like where that kind of energy existed. Yeah, I
It's
think
gonna have to require somebody who doesn't need to make money and doesn't mind
Right.
losing it. You
Because
know,
I mean,
it's like,
Quest was sort of that dude in Boston. I don't know the financials of it, but he ran that as much as he could, and then I think he realized there was no. He sold off the name, I think, but because yeah, it is hard to make money off of
I
it.
would do it. That sounds like my dream job to just have the Atlanta underground hip hop scene store. And there probably is one somewhere that I don't, it's a big
Yeah,
city, but I've never heard of it. And but you'd also just, yeah, I'm not doing this to make money. I'm just doing this. I've already like when I retire, right? It's like, oh, okay, I gotta do
yeah,
something with this money. But yeah, that would be amazing. And that's kind of what the internet became, right? In a lot of ways, even back then, even like 20 years ago, where the like people on certain forums, there were certain places dedicated to certain whatever genres or like, and there was actual like animosity between these different forums and places. It's the
yeah.
nerdiest shit ever, but it's like
Oh
that is
yeah,
what it was. It kind of mirrored life, right? But it was a place where like-minded people could either come together or argue or do whatever they were going to do. But it was like there was a camaraderie that even once those went away, there was like a vacuum amongst people who kind of got their start in that period of time. Like there's a lot of people who started around 96 to 2002 or so. They they may not be super proud of it, but kind of started on hip hop forums.
yeah,
And because maybe they lived in a place that didn't have a place like we're talking about, right?
yeah. If you
And
didn't have
it just
somebody
doesn't
else
exist
who was
anymore.
willing to pay to put you in a studio, like I'm
No,
guessing is what happened to people like DMX and people like that. Like they were raw talent that somebody's like, yeah, you go do him and he'll whatever. You were someone like Cannabis who was just like typing away until like you get someone to pay attention to you, you know?
that was yeah. I left that out of the story, but the guy who used to make beats on DOS, that weirdo, I love you to death. His name's Grendel. Um, he's the first person he paid to put me in a studio. When I was like 20.
Yeah.
For the first time. I'd never been in a studio, when I heard it, I mean, I was like intimidated because the guy was super cool. It was just him and him, right? Two people, but it's like it's just this big room with all this shit on it. You can get this on Amazon for $5 now. Back then, it was like a panel was like $250 or something. And when I heard what it sounded like, and I saw this big board in front of me, I'm sold. I want to do this in some shape or form. If it's not rhyming, I want to do the beats. If it's not that, I'll mix some shit. I was fascinated by it. But yeah, like seeing that's like I feel like people now like that's like a coming of age. Like the first time you were in a studio, a big legit studio, like you either really liked it and you wanted to keep doing it, or you're like, oh, this isn't for me, and just
Oh, I remember mine. It
stop.
was Wonka Sound in Lowell. My man Wycliffe Jackson, he just passed away from Dorchester. He was one of the Funky Bunch back in the day. He used to write for them, and I did an interview with him at Wonka Sound in Lowell, and I was like, holy shit. I remember hearing like Mike Styles or like Detention or someone, Lowell dudes shout that place out. I'm like, oh, I was there. Like, and then I was just always wanting to get back.
Not a lot of studios anymore either, right?
No,
I
there
mean, like
aren't.
not the same way.
No.
You can go to somebody's house and there's a studio there. There's a lot
Right,
of those,
you're
but
in my studio right now.
yes,
Like,
correct. Yeah.
I just showed you my
Here.
computer from 2002.
Yeah, this is
It,
my studio. So
yeah, which I mean, that's a blessing. It's obviously the blessing and the curse is that now everybody can record, but the beauty is, we can record. But it's you guys too. It shows that what means when you put the work in, because anybody can record something, but your stuff sounds really well polished. It sounds really well mixed and
that's
mastered.
him. That's him.
Well,
That's
your
all.
voice too doesn't hurt, but
Oh, no, my voice doesn't hurt. I've been told
yeah.
that. Yeah, I have a rap voice.
Yes, for sure. But like and that's what makes the difference is that now that when everybody has all the tools, you still have to be the best people to work with them, or it's just gonna sound second rate. And I love the way this album sounds. What about like future plans?
Well, while we're still promoting and pushing this, I'm already started writing the next project, which is actually going to be all just all the different producers that are in Knuckle Draggers. So, P Roll has some beats on there. Tali will have some beats. Crack, Ugly John, Matthias, but just them, just a family.
Yeah.
And then after that, me and Tali will probably end up connecting for another one. I'm where I'm at now. I just want to make the music I want to make now. I don't have to appeal to anyone but myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if the people want to rock with me, they rock with me. And apparently on this one, a lot of people are rocking with me on this one. So, and then, I mean, shit, I got blessed. I joke around with Tali all the time about this, but Griselda kind of, made what I do popular again. I've been rapping like this ever since, and like when There Will Be Blood came out with 2013, I was rapping like this. But I don't think people that find their music on the internet was ready to hear an Asian cat rapping like I rap.
Yeah. That's a good point about Griselda, because it's like there's really I mean, we all know they're dope, but there's really no reason that they should be as popular as they are based on their sound, because it doesn't have it's sort of like Wu-Tang in the sonicness of it, where you're like, this isn't supposed to hit with a mainstream audience, but it does because of just all combination of factors. But the comparison's very apt. If you like Griselda, you're gonna I'd say probably a good chance you're gonna like.
Yeah, it's like grimy East Coast based,
Yeah.
like lyrically driven boom bap is.
So it doesn't really sound like a Griselda album though, but I think that I feel like there's tentacles would spread one way or the other, right? Like you'd hear things. It's like an extension of in various different directions. There's like all these different nodes. Like Rock Marciano and Action Bronson, like people somewhere around 2010, people were starting to pave the way for the idea of like a little bit of a comeback of like 1994, 95, 96. I don't know if they weren't doing it on purpose. They were the ones that were influenced and got there first, right? They were influenced from the music back in the 80s and 90s, and they got there and they got in there and they started making music, and it starts like real underground following. And then something about, I don't know if it has anything to do with just the shady shit, just the money or the ability to like put the product out there in front of enough people, but like it fits perfectly it would have fit perfectly back then. It fits now, and of course, like it's sort of brought this whole new style, this new old style back. Like this
Yeah.
this thing that like a lot of people were doing, and then it just kind of like you weren't hearing it anymore because the people who were in charge of putting out music just weren't playing it, or maybe the generation just changed and we were doing something different. But shit comes back every 15, 20 years, and so hopefully that's a good sign. We're going to be out of style again in like 5 years, but until then,
Then I'm gonna do as much as I can.
and then
Yeah.
maybe when we're like 60 it'll come back in style again and we'll do another round. But
Yeah. I had no problem rapping like this when I'm 60. I ain't got no problem with that.
That was something that Life and I talked about, where it's like when we were younger, we didn't know what a 50-year-old, what somebody 50-year-old into hip hop looked like. You know what it looked like? It looked like when they had like a dancing, like a rapping granny on like the Cosby Show or some show like that. That's all it looked like. They just made fun
yeah, it's
of
all
it.
corny as shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, so now we're almost the first generation. Obviously, there's some people a little ahead of us, like the Rakim, Big Daddy Kane's, and not to throw myself in that group,
I was
but
like,
like the idea that it's like we're now seeing what it looks like to be 50, 60, and almost 70 in hip hop. It's Sun Ra just turned 100. I couldn't believe that.
that's awesome.
100.
It was
Holy
like,
shit.
dude, hip hop's what, like one of the youngest, if you think about it, one of the youngest genres of music.
Yeah, 50 years old as of last year.
People always
So
like they want to count it out, and I mean we all do it ourselves. I think sometimes where we're just like, oh, like it's going down, it's going down, and it finds a way to maintain relevancy
Do
with
you remember? This might just be for me
people.
because I grew up in a place where I was teased relentlessly for liking hip hop because I was the only one. Okay, good. You might realize this. Did people tell you that it was going to be like disco and go away and disappear in 2 years? That's
I
what
heard that.
everybody would say.
my parents,
Yeah,
but
my parents, my mom.
I'm like, what? Like, I'm still waiting, still waiting. And I'll tell you what, disco is still pretty much around too, from what I can tell. Like,
yeah,
you know,
actually,
ABBA's still eating. Like,
no, I think disco's a wave that there's always going to be a scene for it,
yeah,
or some kind of version of it.
as long as there's drugs and girls, people are going to want to dance. You know, it's like, or drugs and boys for a lot of other people, especially in that scene. You know, it's like that. That's always going to be money there. You know,
There is.
yeah,
I think I was watching. I think I was on Instagram earlier, just looking around, and another person I met through my brother, Yuki and Saucy, were on. She was spinning on live, and she was doing a disco set. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
like, it's there. I mean, every genre has its niche. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to find where you fit in. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem with music now. A lot of kids are trying to do stuff that they're not built for.
yes,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, and it comes off unauthentic. And at some level, every human being that listens to music or watches a movie, there's a little part of their brain that like enjoys it, but at the same time, they're like, that ain't real.
You know what a perfect example of that is? I was at a show in Worcester a couple of years ago. The Copyright was doing one of the opening acts was there doing all these songs about all the women that were into him. But it's like, okay, there's nobody in the crowd that's cheering for you. There's no women in the crowd. So where are said women? Like, if they're not here now, then where are they when? And I'm just like, what are we doing here? And for what? Like, just so one person can record this on a cell phone and you can watch it later and somehow not be
There,
embarrassed. I don't know.
there's a difference between riding a wave and creating your own wave. You
Yeah.
know, I think all of us, I mean, especially in our circle, me, Tali, P, G fam, especially, we each create our own wave. Like, it's the same ocean, but we all each have our own wave. You know what I'm saying? It's not, and as long as we stick to our wave, we're good. We none of us try to be something that we're not. You ain't never going to hear any of us rhyme about something we ain't experienced, we don't go through, we don't deal with. We try to rhyme on something that is popular that we don't like. Now there might be a beat that comes out that's trappy or something. I'm like, oh, that's fucking fly, and I'll rhyme on it.
Yeah.
And if I don't like it, I'm not going to force myself to do it.
Yeah.
See, I don't care who's asking me to do it.
I'll say some foul shit, but like if you know enough of my music, you're gonna know it's tongue in cheek. You know what I mean? Like I'm never gonna be like actually. You're gonna know whether I'm actually serious about it or not. Like
Yeah,
And when I
exactly.
say it, it's because it's a good bar, and I know it's a good bar, and so I'm gonna use it, and I don't care whether it goes against something that It's like again, I'm gonna just especially like I'm on a song with G Fam. It's like, what am I gonna do? Talk about like grading papers and
Yeah.
whatever. I just like tap into some old shit I remember from back in the day and just like say something extra foul just for fun. But like it's always sarcastic. It's within the art. It's not like
Yeah, see, but
gratuitous. I'm not trying to be something or project the image that I would actually like,
exactly the way you're delivered, the way you say the verse, the way the words that are written around what you're saying, it does it's not, it doesn't sound like everybody that listens to is like, yeah, okay, and they bump with it. They're not saying, no, that's not real.
Yeah,
That's
if you
not
don't know me, you wouldn't know either way. And if you do know me, then you're just like, oh yeah, he's fucking around.
I think too, there's an
exactly.
argument that to some degree, like they say the best pro wrestlers are your own personality turned up to 11.
Mhm.
And I think there's a certain degree of that in hip hop where it's like you take your own
Totally,
personality and just sort of
totally agree.
crank it up because you're adding entertainment value to it, whether it's, I'm not like splaying dragons or anything. I'm not
Like,
like
who
throwing death
doesn't do
bombs in
that?
fantasy. Yeah. You know,
Like,
it's
really? Because like, obviously, like you're saying, like I'm gonna talk about all these women and shit, and there's no women at the show. Well,
yeah.
be like, oh yeah, I'm talking about all these things, but I'm not arrested or I'm not in
I
prison.
know.
It's like, yeah, you turn up some version or some part of yourself, make it entertaining. Like it's gonna be, yeah. Like I've heard that said too before about professional wrestling. I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely what it is. It's just like take the part of you that is you and just blast it and see what happens and see where it goes.
It took
And
a long time for me to get there musically, and I think finally the past couple years I've got there. And like I wrote this song recently. I invented this word called pregret, and it's the feeling you get when you do something that you're gonna regret. And I wrote a song about that. I'm like, this is as authentically me as it can get. I made this word up years ago. I've been using it, and now I'm writing a song about it. It's like this is my lane. It's like these goofy things is like that I can kind of present in witty ways, and it's like because I'm not shooting anybody. Like that ain't happening.
exactly. I mean, like, look, I mean, shit. Without saying names and anything, we know a bunch of people that we all started at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And we've seen each MC evolve that's in our circles.
Yep.
And you can tell when they first started, everybody when they first started rapping wants to rap sound, we're influenced by what we're listening to. But eventually you reach a point where your own life and your own self becomes your influence, not what you're listening to.
Yep.
Once you hit that, that's when your music becomes great or good. You know what I'm saying? Once you realize this is who and what I am. If I'm trying to be this,
Well said.
my music's never going to be right because it's not going to be the real what I want to express.
Yeah.
When you realize your own expression, I guess that's when music becomes fire.
Exactly.
but I feel like most of our old music is that. It's like us taking it to the furthest degree, and then like eventually over time we bring it back
Find the
into
center.
something that's a little bit more like what we're comfortable with and what we would actually want to project. But like it's like Grimm saying, like, oh, this is fucking ignorant person doing all this stuff. And it's like I know stuff I used to say and that I wouldn't like put out there now, or ways that I would sort of, I mean, I'm just fronting, but I'm like 20 years old and I'm trying to work my way through the thing. But then like gradually you start to kind of pull it back in, and you realize what parts of those things are things that you thought you should be, but that was actually expectations of other people. And then like you start to know yourself a little bit better, and you have loved ones, hopefully, that are kind of like part of that equation too. And eventually you start to find a voice that is like certainly more authentic to who you actually are as a person. And it doesn't mean you can't still get ignorant on some shit. Like that's entirely allowable, but it doesn't all have to be that, right? It could be strategic now. It can be like something that like nobody would really question, because it's just like, oh yeah, it's totally not over the top. It's not completely.
Or you could have a
Bullshit.
or you could have a producer that tells you do at least two songs that are you and not just rapping.
Yeah.
I, that's not how I worded it, but I was just like, yeah, we can't have all shit talk. We need at least a couple songs that are like either a concept or like a story or something heartfelt. Like there's got to be a balance here. We can't just do like 9, 10, 12 shit
I mean, there
songs.
were other, like, I hate to use the word topical because that sounds so internety, but there were other topic based songs that we had for the project that we threw out because they're just hella old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it didn't make as much sense today. It's like
Yeah.
I had a story track that had a big twist on it that would have been great 15 years ago. That now
Oh,
is like a
the
big
twist
like,
was a big deal there.
yeah. Now it's like that's not gonna fly. You just go, oh,
And
fine.
like I had features that have been on my hard drive for mad long that just didn't feel right using
That was a
now.
hard one. That was actually one of the harder like things to just try to sort out is like we got these verses from these people and it's like like I don't want to put it out without asking them. We almost don't even want to ask.
I did that with Mac Lethal. I have an unreleased verse from him from 2005 or six, and I'm like, it's going on my next album. I hit him up, and he's like, "Good Lord, I forgot about that. You have my blessing." And I'm like, "All right, man,
Well,
easy enough."
I'll say it. Like I said, I ain't scared. You know me, I ain't scared to say shit.
Yeah.
So I'll say it. I have I had verses from ST and Code, but they're old. They were
Yeah.
from when before they were from when I stopped rapping. You know what I'm saying? And it fit the project. It did. The sonically it fit the project. But like Tali said, do we really want to use something like ST don't even rhyme like that no more? Like that
Yeah.
style. You know what I'm saying? Do I really want to throw that back out there and he'd be like, yo, I don't even rock like this no more. You know what I'm saying? This isn't my wave right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like
Like
it's
even if you put it out
really
like a single, it would be totally different. It's like, yeah, this is like a throwback, just whatever. It's not something that's meant to be like proclaimed on a brand new album with all new shit except for this one thing that's 12 years old or whatever, right?
yeah. And it's like some people take that totally different ways. It's totally it's hard to know, you know.
And
It's
and like and it was a good point. ST's, that's family. So I'm not gonna put something out that he might object to. I mean, he probably wouldn't say anything to me just off the love, but
still, yeah.
he might inside might be like, damn, he could have why he put that out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, so it's not worth it. I'm not like,
Yeah,
the album came out great without the song.
yeah, for
So
sure.
I ain't tripping. You know what I mean? And I'm sure me and ST will work on something in the future. Um, and then other people that had verses that we didn't use. I'm sure if I go back and hit them up later, be like, hey, I still want to rock on something. They'll be down.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. There's
why
always
why
really
why
some.
why blow up the future by using the past? You know what I'm
Oh, of
saying?
course, yeah. And some people are all too quick to do shit like that, you know. Let me ask you one other question. It's kind of related, but like it's something that when I was doing my last show, it occurred to me. I'm seeing more and more now of rappers performing not behind a beat, but performing behind the actual track with them on it. Are you seeing this happen more and more? And thoughts or feelings?
Are you talking about karaoke?
It's what it seems like. No, even with karaoke, that there's usually no
Yeah.
singing on it. But I'm seeing it's like these
I'm
people getting up and just performing over the actual song, and I'm
I'm
like,
I'm
what is?
gonna I'm gonna give a shout out to somebody I've never actually, I don't believe, ever spoken a word to, but I've been following him for like 3 years. He's been following me for like 3 years. Never made anything, never really had any thoughts of. It's a really good, artist. His name is Marcel P. Black. Look it up on Instagram. I would say 90% of the posts he makes are dedicated to the cause of real rappers don't rap over their vocals. And it's like every damn thing he posts is like a meme or it's a thing, whatever it is. It's like, what's wrong with you people? You're a MC. You do not need to be rapping over your stuff. Stop doing it. It's corny, whatever. It's hilarious. Like, look him up. But
I don't even do it to practice at home. Like I don't understand. Like I don't if you're not at the point where you can do that, where you can rap, you shouldn't be on stage, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't suppose
I,
you make a dicks unless you're doing it a little bit because you need a real extension for a certain part or something. But like it's
so,
you
like
shouldn't be on stage.
the only time I use stuff when I used to perform, because I haven't really been on stage since I got healthy. Well, actually, no, I got on once. But anyway, like I usually rhyme. I don't have a shadow. I don't have a hype man. I don't have a shadow. So it's
Yeah,
just me.
same to me.
So I might have the hook in the song,
Yeah, something like
but I'll
that makes
still,
sense. Yeah, yeah,
or I'll have an occasional word placed different places where I know I'm gonna need a breath.
yeah. No,
You
that,
know,
yeah,
but
that's solid.
you don't have to make excuses. You're
but
not
a
the
whole
average case.
Yeah,
but a whole fucking track just rapping over yourself is wild.
It's
it's
funny.
It's like it's shit that like people would like make fun of Britney Spears for, but at least she's dancing. Like, I mean, these dudes aren't doing the kid and play up there. It's like they're just like,
That would be fire if somebody started doing the kid and play.
it would.
While their track played behind them. I might actually applaud that if they did that. Just because it's
I hear like I was gonna say the locks. What was that during COVID
the Locks versus Dipset.
Oh,
yeah,
what
like,
a night! What
that
a
was
night.
a thing, right? And they were like,
yes,
and it was so immediately clear. Not that like I didn't feel that way anyway, but it's just like apps like total novice, never watched anything in their lives can look at that and be like, you know what? I think that person's right. They probably shouldn't be doing that because they're not doing it. If they're not doing it, why is this person doing it? Like, unless you have a health condition, unless you have some kind of reason why you can't do it, like, like, what are you doing?
And the bad thing about that Dipset night is when they mess up their verses and you hear the real verse playing behind the error is so blatant. You're like, oh, you could tell. Like, you can, if you don't have a backing track and you're just rhyming on your beat like you're supposed to, you can fuck up. And if you're good enough to freestyle
it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
You can rhyme just some shit that ain't even in the song until you remember.
Just grunt. Just
yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah, if you quick on your feet.
I was on stage with Lateb once, and he did something funny, and it made me laugh, and it threw me off. So I just started rhyming some shit that just, and then I caught up to the song at the right point. Didn't nobody except the people that know the song realize I did that.
Yeah.
Now,
and it's like in the end, it's like you feel like you're an even better MC than if you gotten it right because you got the opportunity to do that. You're like, oh shit! Like even when I fall down, even when I trip, I don't fall.
But if I had had the song playing behind me and done that, they would have heard two different fucking. Oh, it would have been all bad.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't take much to sonically. It sonically confuses people, and that it hits you as confusing, and that takes people out of the moment. And then it's hard to get them back. I don't know. That shit's been driving me nuts. It's just
that's like people like I hate when people, and I know a lot of people do it, but like I'm sure when you go to do your sets, you give whoever's DJing the flash drive or whatever. I hate when a motherfucker hands a DJ his phone and asks him to plug his phone in and play the beat off the phone. Like
that's
I'm like, dude, like what if you get a call or a text or something in the middle of your set? Like, and you got the DJ trying to scroll on your phone, like your password comes up.
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing, man? And it's gonna, man, this interview is gonna come on. People are gonna be like,
no, they're just whining and bitching about it.
It's like this. I feel like this is not elitist. It's like
that's what I'm gonna hear. Old head.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I mean, there's such a low. I've always said for years, if you're gonna be a guitarist, at least you have to buy a guitar. Maybe a drummer, at least you buy a drummer. If you want to be a rapper, all you have to do is call yourself a rapper, which leads to way too many people just calling themselves rappers. It's like there's a little bit of basic etiquette you should have to learn.
Could you imagine seeing a guitarist on stage just killing
playing
it
over their solo,
stretches, or
and then
the song's still going?
I know.
What in the hell?
I know, like a player piano.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know, man.
They're just going like this the whole time, and their solos playing.
Yeah, I know. It's bizarre. It's especially too when you're doing it to a room full of like just other rappers. It's like, well, you're not fooling the average person to some degree that you can fool them more, but you're not gonna fool another rapper. It's like they're just gonna be like snickering to you, and I don't know.
The way I see it, if you love this culture, this music enough to do it on a level where you're out there performing, if you love it that much, then do it right.
Right. You should want it through your veins, and you're not going to get it through your veins by doing that.
I mean,
and utmost respect to anybody who raps live over their vocals, because at least you're rapping live, which is more than I can do.
Yeah, you get enough on stage.
Know your limitations.
Just for that, when you visit, I'm gonna set up a show.
Okay, thank you. I'll be there. Just tell me what verse so I can memorize it 1,000 times and then forget it when I get up there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I rehearsed. I hadn't done shows in 10 years. I just did a couple of shows in Texas, and I rehearsed like a ridiculous amount. I was like so over prepared, and now I'm doing. Actually, I'll plug this. I'm opening for Elza in the Firewater Cantina in
All
Ontario,
that.
California. Yep, July 27th. So Elza is actually my favorite MC of all time. So I guess I got to really fucking prepare for this one. But
I did not know Elzai was your favorite MC.
yeah, I love Elza. I got a couple tracks with him coming out later this year. But that dude, he's just like one of those guys who for years wasn't on my radar. Then once I heard him, I'm like, where you been? Like, you know.
Mhm.
Congratulations for everything you've accomplished
Thank
since
you, man.
last time
Appreciate
I
it.
actually saw you.
Yeah, you
So
as well, man. Like it's so great to see how far people have come. Like it's just I'm blown away about like people like what Mooney do and what people like Piro do, and so many people just give up. Like, and I don't want to like shit on sports, but so many of my friends when they were younger who were only into sports, like now are into nothing but drinking. But all my friends that were into art and stuck
That's a
with it,
sport.
they have like rich lives, you know?
yeah.
And I say that as someone who was shitty at all sports. Maybe that's why it comes to mind.
I mean, I was a high school athlete, you know what I'm saying? And I can say that a lot of people I know that I still keep in contact with from high school, they're yeah, selling cars or
Yeah.
get, government, government employed civilians, and they look like they all look old. Like
Yeah.
they just look old. Like life is just whooping their ass.
I think we all look younger. Hip
I
hop,
think we
I think
look all
keeps
right.
people young.
Well, these
Yeah.
handsome bastards.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that when I looked at like in my class reunions. I especially saw the women who'd all had two or three kids all looked great, and a lot of the dudes looked like they'd just been drinking and drinking and drinking. You know.
I'm blessed. I'm Asian. Look I'm gonna look young for a while.
Mm. I know you and your brother too. Like he looks the exact same since the day that I met him. I think.
He
Yeah.
does.
It's
It's wild.
yeah. Dr. Stone watched that on Adult Swim. It's wild that all the stuff he's been doing. So
And shout out my brother, man. Aztec Kirk, you killing it right now, dude. I'm so proud of you, dude.
yeah, I think he's one of the people that I think I told him this that like there will always be squabbles in Boston hip hop, and he was always one of the people helping fix things instead of making them worse. And it's like in a genre of people that's built around being assholes to each other sometimes, it's really respectable when you have someone like him who's always just the person bringing people together. It's
Yo, it's wild when I sit and I think about it. Me and him didn't really connect until he was already an adult. You know what I'm saying? Just because, same pops, different moms, grew up different places. He grew up in Boston. I grew up in Korea.
yeah,
But we're both rappers. We both love wrestling. We both love comic books. It's just like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just
yeah.
like
Those three things really go for me. Those three things: the comic books, the wrestling, and the rapping. They all flow together.
like you'll always hear a gang of wrestling references in my shit. You'll
I
hear comic
love
book
wrestling.
references. Like you said, you caught the Tommy Dreamer reference.
Yeah, I mean SmackDown's on right now. I don't know why I'm even talking to you guys, but I know Cody Rhodes is doing something and I'm missing it.
Oh no. Dude, I don't even watch it anymore and I still follow it. I'm weird like that.
Me too,
Where
because I go through those phases too, because what's off screen is oftentimes as entertaining as what's on screen. It's just such an interesting world.
Oh, dude, I don't know if I told my brother this, but when I came home last time to visit, I was sitting on the airplane. I got on the airplane in Burbank and I was flying in and I look over. Dog, I'm sitting next to fucking Jungle Jack Perry.
Really?
Yeah, and I looked at him and I started laughing and he started laughing and he's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, what are you doing here, coach, bro? You know what I'm saying? And
Where's his 90210 checks?
and then
shit, where's Tony Khan?
Yeah.
yeah, and then we started chopping it up about, dude, he was telling me the storyline before shit happened. You know what I'm saying? He's like,
Before
oh,
the CM Punk stuff?
yeah, when
Yeah,
he
this was like
before the
All Out and
fuck, I just blanked.
Wembley?
Oh my god, how did I blank? Captain Charisma,
Oh, Christian.
Christian. When it was right before the Christian storyline
Yeah, oh, I love that.
with him disrespecting his pops and everything. And he told me, he goes, watch, starting this, he was going to an event. I think it was in California. And he was like, watch. He's like, the storyline is coming up. It's crazy. And I was like, all right, bet, you know. And no, he was so cool, man. He was like chill.
That's
I was
awesome.
just like, I was like, I was like, see, that's why I like, you know, is when you meet someone like that and that's chill, you're like, okay, you know, there's
Yeah.
still entertainment value to this, you know,
Yeah.
like the new kids are still keeping it 100. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and a lot of them now are even better. I mean, they don't like. I met Spike Dudley once in an airport. He gave me the Limp Wrist wrestler. This is like 20 years ago. The Limp Wrist wrestler handshake and just kind of blew me off. And like, and I was like, all right. But now it's like they're all like excited and engaged, and they want to like, you
Dude,
know.
Spike Dudley needs the Lifetime Bump Achievement
Oh,
Award.
I know. Like I was thinking of Mike Austin throwing him like this into the ECW crowd.
Dude, do you remember the one where they threw him out of the ring and his head hit the edge of the table?
Oh, I
And
know.
he didn't land on the table. He fell short and his head hit. I'm like,
One
dude.
way to make a living.
Oh yeah, and then on the album, I had the Owen Hart reference when he fell.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's the
That
same
was
thing
rude.
with Tommy
That's
Dreamer.
I know he said it right after that because I'm like, is there gonna be a third one? I was like, I was waiting for it. Yeah, Owen Hart, man, that's a risky one. That's not a bar everybody's gonna make.
Too soon,
Too soon.
Soon, 30 years later.
R.I.P. to Owen Hart, man. It's still
for
the
Yeah.
sure.
darkest day. Well, Chris Benoit, I guess, it made a darker day, but you know.
Oh, dude. That's a song I took off the internet, man. We want to have no. What album? It's on one of the freaking projects. I don't know if it's on
What you
Gutterheads.
had a Benoit bar?
Yeah.
I could see that. I could
Yeah.
I
totally
was,
see Grimm exploiting the Ben.
Yeah.
it was like
Too
right after,
ignorant, Ben, from back
it
in
was
the
like
day.
maybe a month after it happened.
Oh
And
God.
No, too soon back then. That
Yeah.
shit came around later.
I know it was, yeah.
yeah, and I was like, oh my God, what?
Well, that's a funny thing too about like so we're all based on what we talked about, we all were at the age where we were most ignorant, like sort of your early 20s, at the time when it was like most okay to be ignorant, like the Limp Bizkit, like those eras were fucking wild. It's like people were doing some wild shit that definitely got ranked, like Girls Gone Wild on TV all the time. Shit got ranked back a lot
Regular
after that.
TV.
Yeah, yeah. And
Like
so like we
regular
came
TV.
up in that time, like when we were our most ignorant, when the world was most like ignorant in pop
Accepting of
culture.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
and so
To
then
tie
it's
it
like,
back in, to
yeah,
tie it back into wrestling, the Attitude Era.
yes, yeah. It was all kind of pre-social media because that's when I think the shaming started coming in, where it was like you could more tag the identity the activity back to an individual and shame the shit out of them. It's like that's sort of when I think that when that ended.
Like
And
But
it's not
yeah,
necessarily a bad thing. It's
no,
just
I don't think
different.
so either.
It's like
Because even that
things have
attitude
changed.
era
Standards have
stuff's
risen and some standards have fallen, but like the standards of how you treat other people seem to have gotten higher, which I think is a good thing. And the standards of which we accept people doing things that are whack, like rapping over your shit in live shows, have lowered.
yeah,
So
people will let some shit slide they never let slide before.
yeah, we'll let a little bit more slide in a good way and also in a
Yeah,
bad way. But
34 felonies, whatever.
you know what, like I said, man, as long as like all three of us especially, we're just gonna keep making good music and
Yeah.
keep rocking, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Hopefully young kids, you know, tune in and they learn something, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You don't the reason you drop jewels is so other people pick them up. You know
And
what I'm
I've
saying?
learned so much from hip hop too. Like even like Elza, he has this line I think about all the time. It's like either change the way you see things or keep poking out a hive and end up getting bee stings. And I had that hung up on my desk for like years, and I legitly it became the way I think about my life. It's like you got to always change the way you see things, or you're gonna be stung by a fucking bee. It's maybe not that literal, but
Yeah, damn. I probably have to go back and revisit my Elzai stuff. I haven't listened to it in a while.
that dude's got a lot of them. His that's off Jericho Jackson, an album he did with a one producer. I forget how to say his name, but it's a dope record. And then the one he did, Elmatic, which is him over a live band doing Illmatic. He dropped so many fucking
I have
bombs
that
on that.
album somewhere. I don't know
Yeah,
where.
that album is so fucking good. Like,
Yeah, he just came. Actually, he popped up randomly on my because I always wake up when I'm working because I work from home, so
yeah,
I'll put my iTunes on shuffle and work while I'm doing that. And that Motown 25 song came out with
with
Roy.
Royce. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this kid's nice.
I know. He's just he gets in there with it. Some of the bars on the two songs I have with him that haven't come out yet, I'm like, oh man. Like And it's
When that
funny, the two times I worked with him, both times he told me he'd have the song on one day, and he comes back and he goes, "I can make it a little better." I'm like, "Yeah, take your time, dude."
It's fine.
Just like take your time.
when that drops, let me know, man. I'll definitely check it out and support.
Will do, man. Appreciate it. So it's coming out hopefully soon. So we're still waiting on a verse from Percy P, but hopefully it'll be out by the time this comes out. But
He's from Oxnard,
Don't
isn't he?
mind me doing my carpal tunnel stretches. This is just to make sure I can mix Grimm
oh
shit
god,
tomorrow.
I'm there with you where it's like the physical stuff, and I have to do the yoga so that my neck doesn't hurt and all that shit. Oh, my neck just pops. Like
I'm supposed to be doing that stuff for my physical therapy because I have, from what happened, I still have partial nerve damage and
yeah,
just shit I'm still recovering from. But I don't. I'm lazy.
definitely makes a difference, you know. But
I'm like shit. I don't even have to hold the mic anymore. It's in a mic thing. So like, you know what I'm saying? It's like so.
you know what I
Yeah.
will tell you though is DDP yoga. I did that. That was life changing for me, and a bunch of other people have said the same thing. Like the DDP yoga stuff is. I've never felt better in my life than when I was doing that. So, peace to
It's
Tyler
interesting to
Dallas
hear from you
Page.
because you hear like testimonials and bullshit
Yeah,
about it, whatever.
my man
It's
Sean
like it's
Smoke
funny
does
when
it
you
too.
hear it from just like not like you're a random person, but like you and I are random to each other until we're
Yeah,
not, right? And it's like, oh, that's interesting because maybe 3 or 4 years ago I was like seeing things about. I'm thinking I was like, man, I really need to like loosen some things up. I'm a little bit stiff. I got a little bit like I got this certain type of pain. I got this thing that like isn't going away, and I'm like reading, his shit's like just advertised everywhere, or at least it was. There was a
he's a
heyday
hell of
of
a
DDP
salesman
yoga, right?
too.
Yeah, and it's like it's hard to believe any of that type of shit, right? It's like I don't like salespeople in the first place, but it's like, yeah, well, there's a wrestler. Oh, you liked wrestling? Let me see if I can
Yeah,
do this shit. And I look at it, it's like, well, I'm not going to go to his place, although he lives like probably an hour from me.
yeah,
His damn place is about that far, but no, it's interesting. I'll definitely take a second look now, just
yeah.
because I'm curious about anything that's
I
going to
just
make me feel better, like
I,
joint wise.
I just imagine going in there and then he hits you with a diamond cutter and says, "Relax."
Yeah, I know. He's
This is
wild
as much
though.
as it's going to hurt.
There's a thing about him where he and I've listened to interviews with him. He obviously the yoga, he does the thing on it. He'll make you believe in yourself in no time. Like he just has that charm to him where you're like, hell yeah, fucking Dallas. Like, let's fucking do this. And
That's
it's
really all
like,
you need is just like
yeah.
if you have it yourself, you don't need it. But if you don't have it yourself and you need somebody to like make you believe it, that's a guy to do it.
Yeah. And like the thing I liked about when I did it, it was the first time that I felt like all my body parts are actually working together as one. Like after a few months of doing it, like, oh, this is what your body's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be a bunch of Mr. Potato Head shit that they crammed in with like toothpicks and marshmallows. But I guess we gotta get back to doing it. But
See, that goes back to what I said earlier. DDP was a great wrestler,
yeah,
but then he found this that his authentic, like this is what he was, you know,
what is meat? Who's here for? Yeah,
and his frequency changed and his life improved. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Once you find your frequency, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like your whole life changes.
yeah.
It's,
DDP also has the distinction of being a man who beat Jay-Z in court over the right to do this.
Oh, that's funny.
Like there was a lawsuit over that, and I guess him doing this came before Jay-Z doing this, and eventually there was a lawsuit, and DDP came out on the winning end of it.
shit.
Now I want to look that up.
Yeah,
No,
and hopefully that's true. Hopefully,
I
no,
believe it. That makes perfect sense.
I remember that story that on the news about that lawsuit happening.
yeah, fucking Page.
Man,
I remember Mick Foley saying in his book that Diamond Dallas Page can use the word "fuck" 4 times to describe a newborn kitten. It always makes me laugh.
That's how I used to be.
Yeah,
I'm trying really hard not to.
Me too. And I had 3SK on here, and whenever I have him on this, him and I just something about it bringing out of each other. And when I try to do the clips to cut them up, I'm like, holy shit! Like, hope my mom doesn't watch this episode. But
Yeah, that's the one word my mom would not abide. I could say anything I wanted. She knew I would never go and say it to my teacher or something but like fuck was just the word you'd.
yeah,
And now she says it all the time. This is so funny. Like growing up, somehow she thought that was going to be like the thing that like somehow I'm not going to get into college or something because
or
I say
heaven.
fuck or like wherever, right? Yeah.
It's funny. Like someone says the T word on my. I don't even like saying it. Like the T word that's similar to the C word. Like
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was like, it's on my album, and I'm just like, I feel like I want to put a sticker on there that says like, if you're offended by the word this, don't listen to the album. Because I'm just like, it kind of hits you out of nowhere when you hear it, you know?
Dude, it's crazy. I think I was talking to Tali about this too. If you go like to There Will Be Blood, to whatever mixtape I dropped after that, to the and then to this, I curse less and less on each project.
Yeah.
You know, like dude, I'm Blood. I was man, fuck you, this, that. Like, I think I cursed maybe a handful of times on this whole album,
I
and
remember
it's
some shits, and that's like all I remember is a couple of shits. Like I don't even think he's said much other than that.
Yeah.
Did you
yeah,
say anything other than shit? I think you might have done it a couple times. I'm like, dude, this is like a almost a clean album, like
yeah,
this
yeah.
close.
I've
And
been
remember,
challenging myself to do all of that too.
I was going to take that out because I felt weird cursing on a song with
On a
Coco.
Sankofa, yeah, yeah. I was like, no, keep it in. He would want you to keep it in.
And when
If
I
it was
said
his album, you maybe you change it, but
I said I'm Nego on my babe shit, banana clip your face shit. Yeah, that's it, just twice.
Yeah.
that's probably the only two times. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's becoming less of a swear now. You hear that. I mean, you hear that in wrestling now all the
Yeah,
time. I mean, that's
I
not
know.
really the good bar, but like,
dude,
I saw The Rock screaming "motherfucker" on the way to the ring at WrestleMania this year. We knew we were in a new era. You know?
when they did that fake ass press conference when they announced the, you know what I'm saying, when Rock slapped Cody,
Yes,
dude, they were straight cursing like,
I
and it
know.
wasn't getting edited. Nothing. I'm like, okay, new
Like,
day.
this is where we're at. I'm excited to be I'm excited to be here. Show your slide of your family tree and slap Cody Rhodes. I'm here for it. Like,
Yeah, that was a moment.
yeah.
Cody Rhodes was a moment.
Man, wasn't this that a fun build to WrestleMania this year, man? It was so much fun. Like,
I'm waiting for them to hurry up and let Jacob Fatu in. Like, I'm
yeah.
waiting for him to.
You think he's gonna be? You think he's gonna be on what side do you think he's gonna be on? Is he gonna be a heel or a face?
I
I was
think
assuming he's gonna come in with Solo, but now I'm thinking maybe he's gonna come in on the other side.
I'm thinking he's coming in as a face.
They
Yeah,
need something on the other side because it's a little bit imbalanced, right?
I think that's why they wrote Jimmy out in order to bring Jacob in.
probably right. Yeah,
And then
Old wrestling professional bookers over here.
I know.
Who knew
This
this is where we
podcast
were?
does turn into this very often with us.
I think they wrote Jimmy out to bring Jacob in, and then obviously Solo will bring someone in, and then Jimmy will come back miraculously from injury and save his brother or something. You know, it writes itself.
We got
So
Samoan Civil War on the horizon though, and I'm here for it.
but there's so many they can bring in.
I know.
I'm not gonna lie, when they brought, I didn't expect Tangaloa. That threw me off. I
Yeah,
didn't
I was
that
gonna say, they
dude
aren't
looks
awesome.
like a killer though.
like Tama. I expected Tama Tonga. I was like, oh yeah, he's coming.
Yeah.
And but Tangaloa, I was like, no, he's staying New Japan. But
Those are Meng's kids, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like they're
The
bringing the
baddest
entire.
of all badasses.
Look, they're missing one person. They have the entire original Bullet Club in WWE.
Oh yeah.
They're just missing the big dude. God, what's his name? I just blanked. The big bald dude that was Finn's bodyguard in New Japan.
I can see him. I can't tell you what his name is. I can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about though.
I
He's
keep thinking of Luke Gallows, but that's not him.
I
The
think
other
he's
one.
I think
That's
he's
the other guy.
I think he's Tongan too. I can't remember.
He'll probably be in there too.
Yeah. He's like the last original Bullet Club member still in New Japan. I'll remember his name in a minute.
I'm having a real tough time with AEW right now, though. I can't.
Oh, Fale. Bad luck. Bad luck,
Oh
Fale.
yes, yes,
I think
yes.
he's coming too eventually.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, I
do it.
actually we probably could wrap this up because I actually probably
Oh.
gotta get going too.
Yeah, I'm having I got the kids this weekend, so they're probably gonna show up in a minute. So
All right. Well, this has been a blast, man. It's always fun to talk hip hop and wrestling and all that shit. So, you definitely check out the album Grimbo Slice. It's on your Bandcamp. We'll have the URLs all up in here, and it's been a pleasure talking to you guys.
I
For
appreciate
sure.
you. You need
Thank you.
anything, let me know about that show in Ontario. I'll try to roll.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
For sure.
All right. Cool.
If you're ever in North Georgia mountains, let me know.
I will. I may be.
I'll find you a good campground or something. Sure, you can
Sweet.
come stay here.
I was not far recently, so all right. I'll talk to